The colony of Vurex 9 was a strange place where humans were few, and aliens ruled most of the land. The planet was rich with silver forests, glowing rivers, and high metal towers built by alien hands. Among those who worked in the lowest sector lived a young human engineer named Ryan. He was quiet, hardworking, and always tried to help others, even when they did not help him back. Most aliens saw humans as weak and simple-minded. To them, humans were small creatures from a backward world. They let humans live among them only because humans were clever with machines and could fix things the aliens did not understand. Ryan never argued with their insults. He only worked harder, keeping the colony's systems running. He repaired broken drones, cleaned reactor cores, and stayed up late checking old generators. He did all of this with calm patience even when others mocked him. One morning, a group of alien nobles came to the lower hangar. They wore shining armor and carried silver staffs marked with their royal crests. Their leader, a tall and proud noble named Varric, called for everyone to gather. Ryan came forward, wiping oil from his hands. "Human," Varric said with a smirk, "you have worked hard, and your efforts have reached our council. We decided to give you a gift, a very special gift." The other aliens around him laughed, their voices sharp and cold. Ryan looked at them with confusion but stayed silent. The nobles stepped aside, revealing a small cage made of crystal bars. Inside sat a young alien woman with folded wings and a dull silver crown mark on her forehead. Her skin had a faint green hue, and her wings were gray and uneven, not bright like the wings of other queens. "This," Varric continued, "is Tura. She is 21 cycles old, but she is unwanted by her people. A failed queen, too ugly to rule and too weak to serve. So we thought she would suit a human like you. Take her, feed her. Maybe she will keep you company in your lonely little world." The nobles burst into laughter again. The aliens around the hangar joined in. Ryan looked at the girl inside the cage. She did not look back. Her head was lowered and her wings trembled slightly. Ryan understood the meaning behind the gift. It was not kindness. It was mockery. They wanted to remind him that humans would always be beneath them. He nodded quietly. "I accept," he said. His calm voice made the nobles pause for a moment. Varric frowned but said nothing as he left with his followers. Their laughter faded down the corridor. When the hangar was empty, Ryan walked to the cage. He placed his hand gently on the lock. "You are free to come out," he said. The girl inside lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were golden but filled with fear. They said, "I belong to you now," she whispered. Ryan shook his head. "No one belongs to anyone. You can leave if you want, or you can stay. But I will not treat you as property." Tura hesitated, then stepped out of the cage. She stood straight but kept her wings close to her body. She looked thin and tired, like someone who had not eaten for days. Ryan noticed the scars on her arms where the cage had pressed too tightly. He led her to his small living space at the edge of the hangar. It was not much, just a bed, a table, and a few tools scattered around. "You can rest here," he said. "I will make some food." Tura sat down on the floor without a word. She looked around the small room with confusion. "You live here?" she asked. "Yes," Ryan said while preparing a simple meal. "It is quiet." "I like it." She looked at him again. "Why did you not refuse me?" Ryan smiled faintly. "Because refusing would make them happy, and because no one should be treated like a joke." Tura said nothing more. She ate slowly when he offered her food. The taste seemed strange to her, but she finished it all. When she was done, she said softly, "Thank you." Over the next few days, Tura stayed near Ryan's workshop. She did not speak much, but she watched him work. He repaired damaged drones and small transporters. Sometimes he hummed while working, a quiet tune that filled the air with calmness. Tura finally asked him one evening, "Why do you work so hard for those who mock you?" Ryan looked up from his tools. "Because work is what gives me peace. And because if I stop, the systems fail. Then people suffer. Even if they hate me, I will still do my part." Tura looked thoughtful. "You are strange," she said. "Humans often are," Ryan replied with a small grin. Days passed. Tura began helping him with small tasks. She handed him tools, cleaned the parts, and watched how he connected wires and fixed circuits. Ryan never ordered her. He only showed her how things worked and let her choose what to do. One afternoon, she tried to lift a broken drone but dropped it. The crash echoed through the hangar. Ryan rushed over, worried she was hurt, but she stepped back, her face full of fear. "I am sorry," she said quickly. Please do not punish me, Rian froze. Punish you? No, no one will punish you here. She looked confused. But that is what they did when I failed. Ryan sighed softly. Then they were wrong. Mistakes are how we learn. She stood silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. From that day, she stopped flinching when he approached. Soon, other workers noticed the strange pair. Some laughed, saying the human was keeping an ugly queen as a pet. Others whispered that maybe he was crazy. But Rian ignored them. One night, a group of aliens threw small stones at his workshop while shouting insults. Ryan stood by the door silently until they left. Tura wanted to go after them, but he stopped her. They are not worth it, he said. One day they will see what truth really is. She looked at him with wonder. How can you still be kind after all this? Ryan smiled. Because kindness is not weakness. It is strength. After that night, Tura began to change. She started waking early, cleaning the tools and helping him plan repairs. Her wings still looked dull, but sometimes, under the light of the reactor, Ryan saw a faint glow returning to them. He told her about Earth, about blue oceans and green forests, about people who built great cities not with power but with effort. Tura listened carefully, her eyes wide. She asked many questions about humans, about how they lived and why they cared for one another even without ranks or crowns. Ryan answered with patience. On Earth, we say everyone has value. Even if the world does not see it, we can still prove it through what we do. Tura looked at her reflection in a broken metal plate. Even someone like me? Yes, Rian said. Especially someone like you. That night, Tura stood outside the hangar and looked at the stars. She whispered something in her language, a word Rian did not understand. Later, she told him it meant hope. Weeks later, the Colony Council announced a new inspection. Varric and his nobles would visit every sector to judge the workers. Rian's hangar was last on the list. When the nobles arrived, they were shocked to see the place clean, bright and fully operational. Machines that had been broken for months now worked smoothly. The energy output had doubled. Drones hovered in perfect formation. Varric frowned. How did you manage this? Ryan answered calmly. With help. He stepped aside, revealing Tura standing behind him, her wings open. They still were not perfect, but they shimmered faintly with light. She bowed her head slightly. The nobles stared in silence. Varric tried to speak, but no insult came out. The sight of the once ugly queen standing tall beside a human was something none of them expected. As they left, Ryan turned to Tura. You did well. She smiled for the first time. We did well. That night when the lights dimmed and the hangar grew quiet, Ryan sat beside his small fire and looked at the stars through the window. He thought of how things had changed in only a few months. He remembered how the queen had once hidden in fear. Now she stood with strength. He had not planned to teach her anything grand, but she had learned something greater than machines. She had learned her worth. And as he drifted to sleep, Tura stood watch near the door, whispering again that same word, hope, while her wings glowed softly in the dark. The following weeks changed the rhythm of Ryan's life. His workshop, once quiet and lonely, now echoed with the sound of two voices. Tura spoke more often, asking questions about every tool and machine. She wanted to learn everything about how humans worked. Ryan was patient with her. He showed her how to use wrenches, how to connect circuits, and how to test power levels without burning wires. At first, her hands shook each time she handled a tool. Her fingers were long and delicate, made for the elegant arts of her people, not for heavy human machines. But Rian did not laugh. He encouraged her. You are doing fine, he said every time she doubted herself. Slowly, her hands became steadier. The workers around them began to whisper. They saw the young alien queen standing beside the human, her dull wings folded neatly, her eyes focused. The two of them worked side by side, fixing drones and repairing pipes. Most of the workers could not believe what they saw. To them, it was unnatural for a queen to lower herself to labor, and even stranger for a human to guide her. One evening, after a long day, Tura and Ryan sat on the roof of the hangar. The twin suns of Vurex 9 were setting, painting the sky with silver and red colors. Tura looked at the horizon, quiet for a long time. Rian, she said at last, why do you always help people who do not respect you? Ryan smiled faintly. Because I do not work for them. I work for what is right. Machines do not care who you are. If you fix them, they run. If you care for people, sometimes they change. Sometimes they do not. But it is still worth trying. Tura tilted her head. Your way of thinking is strange to me. Among my kind, we only help those of equal rank or higher. Ryan looked at her with calm eyes. That is why your people call humans foolish. But maybe foolishness is what keeps us alive. We believe that even the smallest person can do great things. Tura looked down at her hands. And what can someone like me do? I was cast away, laughed at and given to you as a joke. Ryan's voice grew firm but kind. Then prove them wrong. Let your actions speak louder than their words. You are not what they said you are. You are what you decide to become. The words stayed with her. That night she could not sleep. She kept thinking about what he said. For the first time in her life, she felt she could choose who she wanted to be. The next morning, she woke before Ryan and started cleaning the workshop. She organized the tools, wiped the oil stains, and checked the inventory logs. When Ryan arrived, he was surprised. You did all this? He asked. Yes, she replied proudly. If I am to learn the human way, I must start with small steps. Ryan nodded with approval. Then let us begin. As days passed, Tura's understanding of machines grew deeper. She learned how energy flowed through cables like rivers and how drones followed human commands with logic and code. Ryan taught her the names of every part, and she repeated them carefully until she remembered each one. In return, Tura shared her own knowledge. She told him how the alien queens controlled bioorganic systems using thought and light. She demonstrated how certain crystals responded to sound vibrations. Ryan listened with great interest. Together they began building small devices that used both human and alien technology. Their teamwork caught the attention of nearby workers. Some began to respect them. Others still mocked, but their voices grew weaker as results began to show. The machines from Ryan's hangar worked better than any others in the colony. One afternoon, a messenger from the council arrived. The colony's power core had begun to fail. None of the alien engineers could fix it. They wanted Ryan's help. When he was summoned, Tura stepped forward. I am coming with you, she said firmly. Ryan looked at her, surprised. It could be dangerous, I know, she said. But I will not hide. You once told me that actions speak louder than words. Let me act. Ryan saw determination in her eyes. He nodded. Then let us go. They traveled through long tunnels leading to the power core. The air was hot and thick with the smell of metal. The chamber was huge, filled with humming energy lines and glowing conduits. At the center, a massive crystal reactor pulsed weakly, its color fading. The alien engineers stood around it, confused and nervous. When they saw Ryan, many frowned. Why bring the human here? One of them muttered. Before Ryan could reply, Tura stepped forward. Her wings opened slightly and her voice was calm. Because he can fix what you cannot. Her words silenced the room. Even the loudest noble looked away. Ryan moved to the control panel and began checking the readings. The power output was unstable. The energy core was misaligned and the safety systems had failed. Tura stood beside him, observing carefully. It is losing harmony, she said softly. This crystal is alive. It responds to rhythm, not force. Ryan nodded slowly. Then let us bring it back together. You guide the energy and I will stabilize the systems. Together they worked. Ryan adjusted the conduits, tightening connections and redirecting power. Tura sang softly in her language, her voice steady and deep. The crystal began to glow brighter, its pulse growing steady. The entire chamber filled with a soft light. The engineers watched in disbelief as the power returned. The readings on the panels climbed higher and higher until the systems reached full stability. The lights across the colony flickered back to life. When the job was done, Ryan turned to Tura. Her wings shimmered faintly, glowing brighter than before. For the first time, he saw pride on her face instead of fear. Varric, who had been observing from a distance, stepped forward with a stiff expression. How did you do that? He demanded. Ryan answered calmly. By listening. Machines have patterns just like people. You only need patience to understand them, Tura added. And belief. He believed in me when no one else did. Varric's mouth tightened. He gave them a short nod, unable to find an insult this time. Then he left, his guards following behind. When the chamber was empty again, Tura turned to Ryan. We did it, she said with excitement. Ryan smiled. You did it. I only helped. That evening, back at the hangar, the workers greeted them with respect. They brought food and drinks in celebration. For the first time, the same people who once laughed at Tura now bowed their heads slightly when she passed. But Tura did not let it go to her head. She remembered Rian's words about humility. She shared the food with everyone and thanked them for working together. Her behavior surprised many, for no queen had ever spoken kindly to common workers. Later that night, when the celebration ended, Rian sat by the small fire again. Tura joined him quietly. The air was peaceful, and the sound of distant machines hummed in the background. "Ryan," she said softly, "I used to think humans were weak. Now I see that strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and patient." Ryan nodded. "Strength is not about ruling others. It is about standing for what is right even when you stand alone." Tura looked at him with thoughtful eyes. "Do you think I can become someone worthy of respect?" "You already are," Ryan said. "But the world does not change in one day. Keep walking your path. Let your deeds speak for you," Tura smiled. "Then I will keep walking." From that night onward, she trained herself even harder. She studied human history, reading old files about explorers, scientists, and inventors. She practiced her alien techniques alongside human methods. Slowly, her wings began to regain their glow, not because of magic, but because of confidence. Her progress spread through the colony. Even some nobles began to whisper that perhaps the humans' strange way of thinking had some truth in it. Weeks later, the colony leader invited Rian and Tura to a meeting. The leader wanted to discuss the idea of combining human and alien knowledge to improve the colony. It was a rare honor. As they walked to the council hall, Tura felt nervous. "Do not be afraid," Ryan said. "You earned this." Tura nodded, breathing deeply. The large hall was filled with nobles, workers, and commanders. When she entered, the room grew silent. The same people who once mocked her now waited to hear her speak. Ryan stood beside her. "This is your moment," he whispered. Tura raised her head high and spoke with a clear voice. She thanked the council for allowing humans to live among them and then said, "What makes a world strong is not blood or rank. It is the will to learn from one another." Her words echoed through the hall. For a moment there was silence. Then slow applause began to spread. That day a new respect began to grow between the two species. And it started with a human who refused to hate and a queen who chose to rise. As they left the hall together, Ryan said with a small smile, "You spoke like a true leader." Tura replied, "No, I spoke like a student of the human way." The days after the council meeting brought great change to the colony of Vorex-9. For the first time, humans and aliens began working together on equal ground. Some still carried old pride, but many had seen with their own eyes what cooperation could do. The story of the human engineer and the outcast queen spread through every sector. People whispered it in the mines, in the towers, and in the glowing gardens that surrounded the city. Rian did not care for attention. He kept his focus on the work. Machines still needed repair, power systems still needed checks, and he had no interest in becoming a hero. But Tura's name started to grow beyond the hangar walls. The same people who had once thrown insults now came to her for advice. One morning, Ryan was fixing a drone when a group of alien workers arrived. Their leader bowed slightly. "Queen Tura," he said, "the water filters in the lower zone have stopped working. None of our engineers can fix them. Can you and the human help us?" Ryan looked at Tura and smiled. "Your call, my queen." Tura blushed a little but nodded. "We will help." When they reached the lower zone, they found the problem was much worse than expected. The water tunnels were cracked, and the control system had burned out. The aliens who lived there were poor and had no means to repair it. The smell of rust filled the air, and small children with gray skin watched silently from the corners. Rian took a deep breath. "We can fix this, but it will take time." Tura knelt beside a small alien child and handed her a piece of clean fruit from her satchel. The girl hesitated before taking it. The people were not used to kindness from nobles. When Tura stood again, she said to the workers, "We start now. Every life here matters." The workers looked uncertain, but Ryan's steady confidence calmed them. They divided tasks and worked all through the day. Ryan handled the mechanical parts while Tura used her knowledge of biocrystals to heal the damaged pipes. Her hands glowed with faint green light as she guided energy into the structure. When the night came, the water finally began to flow again, clean and clear. The people cheered. For the first time in many years, the lower zone had fresh water. An old alien woman stepped forward, her eyes wet with tears. "You have given us life again," she said. "We will not forget this," Tura bowed her head. "Do not thank me alone. The human beside me did more than I did." The crowd turned to Ryan. He smiled, wiping his hands on a cloth. "We both did what was right." The next morning, a message arrived from the council praising their work. It was the first time a human had ever been mentioned with honor in an official record. Ryan did not seem to care much for the recognition, but Tura's wings shone a little brighter that day. Weeks passed peacefully until one evening the alarm sirens blared through the colony. A massive storm from the northern deserts was moving toward Viewership. The storm carried electric dust that could disable power systems and destroy communication lines. The alien nobles fled to their shelters, but many humans and workers were left behind in the lower sectors. Ryan and Tura rushed to the main control tower. The commander in charge was panicking. "The energy shields are failing," he said. "If the storm reaches the city, we will lose everything." Ryan checked the control panel. "The shield generators are overheating. They will collapse if we do not redirect the power manually." The commander shouted, "That is suicide. The tunnels are exposed. No one can survive out there." Tura looked at Ryan. He already knew what she was thinking. "We go together," she said firmly. Without waiting for permission, they grabbed protective suits and entered the tunnel leading to the shield generators. The air was thick with red dust and bolts of lightning flashed across the sky. The metal floor vibrated under their feet. When they reached the generators, one of them was burning. Ryan quickly began to shut it down while Tura shielded him with her wings. Sparks hit her, but she did not move. "Almost there," Ryan shouted over the roar of the storm. He reconnected a power cable and redirected the energy to the backup system. The machine trembled, then stabilized. The blue light of the shields flickered back to life, spreading across the city dome like a wave. Tura's strength was fading. She had been using her energy to protect Ryan. When the storm finally passed, she fell to her knees. Ryan rushed to her side and held her up. "You did it," he said. She looked up weakly. "We did it." When they returned to the city, they were greeted by silence. The people stood watching as the pair entered the main square. Then slowly, one by one, they began to clap. Humans and aliens together, cheering for the human who faced the storm and for the queen who stood beside him. That night, the council called a special meeting. Ryan and Tura were invited as honored guests. Varric, the noble who had once mocked them, stood among the crowd. His expression was unreadable. The council leader, a wise elder with silver skin, spoke. "For many years we believed power came from birth and form. Today we see that power also comes from courage and unity. Queen Tura, you have shown us humility. Engineer Ryan, you have shown us strength. Together you remind us that respect is earned, not given." The hall filled with applause. Tura bowed deeply. Ryan did the same. After the ceremony, Varric approached them. His eyes were cold but not as sharp as before. "You have changed many minds," he said. "Even mine, perhaps," Tura replied kindly. "It was never about changing minds. It was about showing hearts what they forgot." Varric gave a slow nod and left without another word. That evening, Ryan and Tura sat outside near the edge of the colony where the stars were bright. The air was still and the dust storm had passed completely. "You almost lost your life today," Tura said quietly. Ryan smiled faintly. "So did you." She looked at him. "You risk yourself for others even when they do not value you." "Why?" Ryan took a long breath. "Because I believe one day they will. Maybe not for me, but for what comes after. Every small act changes something." Tura nodded slowly. "Then I will keep changing things too. I will make sure what we started does not end." Ryan handed her a small metal charm shaped like a gear. "Keep this. It is from one of my old projects back on Earth. It reminds me that broken things can still be rebuilt." Tura held the charm carefully, her eyes warm. "Then I will treasure it." The next day, Ryan noticed that the people treated Tura differently. When she walked through the streets, aliens bowed with respect. Children waved and called her name. She smiled gently at them, not as a ruler, but as someone who cared. Ryan's reputation grew as well. Workers from other colonies sent requests for his help. The council offered him a higher position, but he refused. He said he was content where he was. He preferred to work among those who needed him most. Tura often joined him during his repairs. Sometimes they argued over small things like the best way to balance power systems. Their arguments never lasted long. They always ended with laughter. One evening, as they walked along the river near the colony wall, Tura looked up at the glowing sky. "Do you ever miss your home?" she asked. Rian thought for a moment. Sometimes. But maybe home is not only a place. Maybe it is the people we choose to stand with. Tura smiled softly. "Then you are home here with me." For a while they stood in silence, watching the lights of the city reflect in the water. Around them the colony buzzed with new life. Humans and aliens worked together, sharing skills and ideas. The storm had united them more than any council order ever could. That night, Ryan returned to his workshop and found something on his table. It was a small crystal wing, shaped carefully by Tura. On it was engraved a simple phrase in her language. When he translated it, it read, "To the one who taught me to fly." He held it for a long moment, feeling both pride and humility. The outcast queen who had once lived in fear now stood tall among her people. And all because he chose kindness when others chose cruelty. As he looked out the window, he saw her standing by the gates, speaking with workers, laughing freely. Her wings shimmered brighter than ever before, catching the light of the moons. Ryan smiled to himself. He had never wanted power or praise. Seeing her rise higher than anyone expected was reward enough. The human who had been mocked for his weakness had lifted an entire world simply by believing in what others could not see. And for the first time in many generations, the colony of Vurex-9 began to feel truly alive. The months after the storm passed brought new hope, but not everyone was happy. Some of the alien nobles still carried resentment. They could not forgive a human for teaching a queen and showing that effort mattered more than birthright. Rumors began spreading about Rian and Tura, whispers of jealousy and anger. One morning, Ryan noticed a group of soldiers outside the hangar. They were armed with sharp energy blades and their armor gleamed in the weak sunlight. The commander stepped forward, speaking with authority. "You are summoned by the nobles," he said. "They wish to question the queen's rise and the human beside her." Ryan shook his head. "I have no quarrel with them. If they want to talk, let them come here." The soldiers looked surprised. One spoke, "It is not safe. They do not want to talk. They want obedience." Rian's eyes narrowed. "Then they will not get it from me." Tura stepped beside him, her wings stretching slowly. "We will face whatever comes together." That evening, the nobles arrived in force. The streets were filled with onlookers as they approached the hangar. They were not here to ask questions. They were here to intimidate. Varric, the same noble who had mocked them months ago, led the group. His voice was loud and cold. "Human and failed queen," he said. "Your time of influence is over. Leave the colony or face the consequences." Tura's voice was calm but strong. "We have done nothing wrong. We serve the people, not the council." "You cannot take that from us," Varric laughed. "Do not forget your place. You are an outcast. You are a human. You are nothing." Ryan stepped forward. "If strength is measured by who can frighten others, then yes, you are stronger. But we measure strength by action, by courage, by helping those who need it. That is why you will fail." The nobles hesitated. They had never been spoken to this way. Ryan continued. "You can try to remove us. You can send soldiers. But you cannot remove respect, trust, or loyalty. The people will stand with us." Varric's eyes flashed with anger. He signaled his soldiers to attack. The fight began suddenly. Energy blades clashed with shields, sparks flew, and dust swirled in the air. Rian moved quickly, using his knowledge of machines to create barriers and traps. Tura's wings glowed brightly as she deflected attacks, her strength growing with every moment. Despite being outnumbered, Ryan and Tura fought with coordination and calm. The soldiers had power, but they lacked strategy. Every move Tura made was precise. She used her alien knowledge to redirect attacks and protect humans who had nowhere to hide. Rian noticed a group trying to reach the hangar. He grabbed an old drone, modified it, and sent it flying overhead. It created a distraction, giving them a chance to move forward. Tura extended her wings and guided people to safety. The nobles realized their attacks were failing. Their soldiers retreated, exhausted and confused. Varric's face was red with fury. He tried to push forward himself, but Tura stepped in his path. "You are finished here," she said firmly. "The people will no longer follow your lies. They will follow what is right." Varric shouted in rage, but before he could strike, Ryan activated a makeshift energy net, trapping him and a few soldiers safely without causing harm. The other soldiers surrendered. The crowd of workers and citizens watched silently, then slowly erupted into cheers. Humans and aliens who had once feared the nobles now stood tall. They had seen the courage of a human and the strength of a queen who refused to hide. The council, watching from a distance, had no choice but to intervene. They arrived in peacekeepers' ships separating the combatants. Varric and his followers were brought to the main hall. They could not argue when every citizen was behind Rian and Tura. Inside the council chamber, Varric glared at Tura. "You will regret this," he said. Tura remained calm. "Regret is for those who choose fear over action. We will not regret standing with the people." The council leader spoke, his voice firm.
"Enough! This colony belongs to all who work for it."
"No one has the right to rule by fear. The human and the queen have proven loyalty and wisdom. You, Varric, have proven that power without justice leads to failure." Varric's face turned pale. He had never been reprimanded so publicly. The council decided to remove him from his command position. It was a clear warning to others. After the council meeting, Tura turned to Ryan. "We cannot stop here. There will always be those who try to take what is not theirs." Ryan nodded. "We do what we must. That is all we can do." The following weeks were busy. Ryan and Tura worked to repair the damage caused by the attack. Broken machines, damaged tunnels, and frightened workers all needed attention. Together, they rebuilt not only the infrastructure but also the trust of the people. Tura grew stronger each day. Her wings shone with a soft light that reflected her growing confidence. She began speaking at gatherings, teaching others how to combine human and alien methods. The crowd listened carefully. Even the nobles who had not joined Varric's attack were impressed by her knowledge and wisdom. Rian remained by her side, guiding and protecting, but also allowing her to lead. He knew she needed to experience leadership herself to grow stronger. He often reminded her, "The people follow what they see, not what they are told." Tura began to understand this truth deeply. She visited schools, workshops, and colonies where humans and aliens worked together. She encouraged cooperation, patience, and respect. People began calling her the Rising Queen, a leader who lifted others instead of ruling through fear. One day, a messenger brought urgent news. A neighboring colony was under threat from a rogue faction. The colony had no human engineers, and its queen had little experience. Ryan and Tura were asked to assist. They prepared immediately. Tura addressed the people before leaving. "We go not for power, but to help. You have the strength to protect yourselves. Remember, courage and unity are what keep a colony alive." Ryan added, "We go to show that even the smallest efforts make a difference. Together we can overcome any challenge." They traveled across the stars in a small transport ship. The journey was long, but Ryan and Tura spent the time teaching younger queens and engineers aboard the ship. Tura practiced her leadership skills, making decisions with Ryan's guidance. Each choice strengthened her confidence. When they arrived, the colony was in chaos. Machines were broken, defenses were weak, and fear was everywhere. Tura stepped forward, giving calm orders. Ryan repaired the systems alongside her. Slowly, the colony stabilized. Energy shields were restored. Drones flew in formation, and the citizens began to feel safe again. The people of the threatened colony had never seen such courage. They began to follow Tura's instructions without question, and even the human engineers who had doubted her listened. Ryan and Tura worked day and night, fixing everything in their path. At the end of the mission, the colony leader approached them. "You have saved us when no one else could. Your teamwork is remarkable. The stories of your actions will inspire many generations." Tura looked at Ryan. "We could not have done it without each other." Ryan smiled. "Exactly. Strength is shared, not owned." On the return journey, Tura began to understand fully the meaning of Ryan's teachings. Leadership was not about crowns, appearance, or birth. It was about courage, compassion, and effort. She realized that the very qualities humans were mocked for had allowed them both to rise higher than anyone expected. When they returned to Vurex 9, the citizens cheered. Tura and Rian had not only defended the colony but had also inspired everyone to work together, to respect each other, and to believe that change was possible. Even the younger nobles began to seek advice from Tura. They asked how she managed to lead without fear. She replied simply, "I follow what is right, not what is easy. And I listen to those who care, not just those with power." Ryan watched her, proud but quiet. He had given her tools and guidance, but she had grown beyond what he could have imagined. He understood that her rise was not because of him alone. It was because she had chosen to learn, to act and to believe. That night, the pair sat under the stars looking at the glow of the city. "We have faced our first real challenge," Ryan said. Tura nodded. "And we overcame it. But there will be more. Others will try to stop us," Ryan replied. "Let them come. We will face them together, and every time the truth will shine brighter than their fear." Tura smiled. "Then let us keep walking forward." And so, with courage in their hearts and the trust of the people behind them, the human and the once rejected queen prepared for the challenges that awaited. They had faced fear, cruelty, and power, and they had risen above it all. The colony of Vurex-9 would never be the same again. The colony of Vurex-9 had changed completely. The streets once full of fear and division were now alive with people working together. Humans and aliens repaired, built, and taught one another. The name of Tura, the queen who had once been rejected, spread across every sector. She was no longer the ugly queen whispered about in sneers. She was a symbol of strength, courage, and fairness. Ryan worked as always in the hangar, fixing drones and machines, yet the workers treated him differently now. They showed respect, sometimes bowing lightly or offering small gifts. He did not crave their praise. For him, the reward was in the work itself. Yet he could not hide the pride he felt when he saw Tura walking through the city. Her wings glimmered in the sunlight, a soft green glow that reflected her growth. Her eyes were steady, no longer afraid or uncertain. The crown mark on her forehead shone faintly, not because of magic, but because of confidence and experience. One morning, a council messenger arrived with an invitation for Tura and Ryan. The invitation was from the leaders of several nearby colonies. They wanted her advice and guidance on organizing people and building defenses. It was a rare honor, rarely given even to queens of full standing. Tura looked at Ryan. "Do we accept?" she asked. Ryan smiled. "We go. You have earned this. Your wisdom belongs to more than just this colony." They traveled to the neighboring colonies. On the way, Tura shared her knowledge with other young queens and engineers. She explained the importance of working with all people regardless of rank. She shared stories of the storm, the water tunnels, and the battles with Varric soldiers. Everyone listened carefully, impressed by the courage and patience it took to face such challenges. When they arrived, the colony leaders welcomed them with open arms. Tura assessed the infrastructure, examined energy grids, and guided repairs. Ryan worked alongside her, quietly instructing humans and aliens on mechanical techniques. Together, they restored systems faster than anyone expected. During a meeting with the colony leaders, Tura spoke calmly. "Leadership is not about fear. It is about seeing what needs to be done and helping those who cannot do it alone. Power is not measured by titles, but by action. Respect is earned, not demanded." Her words were met with nods and applause. Many of the leaders admitted they had once judged her by appearance alone. Now they understood her true value. Ryan watched quietly, proud of her growth. He remembered the day she had stepped out of the cage, afraid and unsure. Now she stood before many leaders, speaking with confidence and guiding people through complex decisions. He understood that her rise was a result of choice, effort, and trust, not the cruel joke of a council. While they were away, the people of Vurex-9 began to implement the lessons Tura had taught. Humans and aliens worked side by side. The young queens began helping communities rather than competing with one another. Engineers and builders shared their knowledge freely. The colony became stronger than it had ever been before. Upon returning home, Tura and Ryan were greeted as heroes. The streets were lined with citizens cheering, children waving, and workers bowing in respect. Even some nobles who had remained distant approached to offer quiet praise. Varric, who had once mocked them, now approached with caution. His voice was low. "You have surpassed everyone's expectations. I cannot deny your strength." Tura looked at him calmly. "Strength is not in belittling others. You can learn from what you have seen if you choose." Varric said nothing more. He turned and left, but his posture suggested reflection. That evening, Ryan and Tura walked along the edge of the colony, looking at the glowing forests and silver rivers. Tura spoke first. "I never imagined this. From the moment I was given to you as a joke, to now leading the colony and being respected across the sector. It feels unreal," Ryan smiled. "You earned it. I only showed you what humans believe, that anyone can rise if they choose to try. You believed and you acted." Tura looked at him. "Then you are the reason I believed. You never treated me as less even when others did. You gave me courage." Ryan shook his head. No, you gave yourself courage. I only reminded you that it existed. Tura laughed softly. Perhaps, but I will always remember that a human saw worth in me when no one else did. From that night, Tura dedicated herself to improving the colony. She created schools to teach cooperation between humans and aliens. She trained engineers, leaders, and young queens in practical skills and leadership. She visited every district, listening to the concerns of the citizens and guiding solutions. Rian continued his work in the hangar but became more involved in teaching young humans and aliens alike. Together, he and Tura combined human ingenuity with alien knowledge to build better tools, energy systems, and transportation networks. Their partnership inspired many others to work together, breaking down centuries of mistrust between the species. Months later, a council meeting was held to honor their work. Leaders from neighboring colonies attended. Tura was asked to speak. She stood tall, her wings fully extended, shining in the light of the hall. True leadership, she said, is measured not by the crowns we wear, but by the lives we touch. Respect cannot be demanded. It must be shown through courage, patience, and kindness. Humans taught me this, and I have learned it well. The council erupted in applause. Many of the leaders admitted they had judged her by her appearance and underestimated her. They now saw that a leader's true value comes from action, not beauty or birthright. Ryan stood beside her, smiling quietly. He had no crown, no title, and no desire for fame. Yet he felt a quiet satisfaction knowing the queen he had guided had become a symbol of hope and strength for the entire sector. Tura turned to him. You never sought praise, yet your actions shaped the lives of many. Humans are remarkable, Ryan chuckled, and queens can be remarkable too if they choose to learn. The years passed. Under Tura's guidance, VX-9 became a model colony. Other worlds sent envoys to learn from them. Humans and aliens worked together in peace, repairing the damage of old prejudice and building a future stronger than anyone had imagined. Children grew up hearing the story of the human who refused to hate, and the queen who refused to be afraid. They learned that courage and patience could overcome fear and cruelty. They learned that no one should be judged by appearance or birth, but by their actions and heart. Rian and Tura remained partners in every sense. They taught, repaired, and guided together. Ryan continued to fix machines and build new tools, always quietly, never seeking attention. Tura continued to lead the colony with fairness and wisdom. Together they created a world where strength was measured by kindness and courage. One evening, Tura looked at Rian as they walked under the glowing trees. Do you know what we have done? She asked softly. Ryan nodded. We have shown that anyone can rise higher than anyone expects if they choose courage and kindness. Tura smiled, spreading her wings to catch the soft wind. Then we have truly changed the world. Ryan watched her, proud but humble. And it all began with a choice. One choice to see worth where others saw none. Tura looked at the stars, her heart full. She remembered the fear she had once felt, the ridicule, the loneliness. Now she was no longer a failed queen. She was respected, admired, and loved by the people she served. The colony of VX-9 shone under the twin moons, alive with energy, hope, and cooperation. Its people worked together, humans and aliens side by side, building a future stronger than any one leader could create alone. And at the center of it all stood a human and the queen he had raised. A living example that even the smallest kindness and courage could change the destiny of many. Rian turned to Tura one last time that night. You have risen higher than anyone else, Tura, and you did it with your heart and mind. Tura smiled, her wings glowing softly in the moonlight. And I will continue to rise for the people, for the colony, and for the hope you taught me to hold. They walked back to the hangar, side by side, ready for whatever the future would bring. Together, they had rewritten the story of a human and a queen, showing that true greatness is not born but made through courage, patience, and care. And in the years to come, every child, human or alien, would remember their story and know that sometimes the smallest kindness of one human can change the world forever.